Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Tayte, Ren, and Paul for a very special Mount Rushmore, the last Mount Rushmore of 2024, as we segue into our Christmas videos. And of course, it's a great way to end this series for this year by talking about Christmas films. By the time this video goes up, it will now be December. It's becoming that time of the year. Paul has dressed up for the occasion. I have not. Maybe I'll get a Christmas hat on the Green Goblin. Who knows? That's as far as I'll be willing to go. But we're here to deliver Mount Rushmore, and we're going to be talking about our Christmas films. We're each going to be picking our own. Then we're going to come together for a combined one at the end, which is going to be a lot tougher. But before I carry on, how are we all doing tonight?
Very Christmassy.
Christmassy? I don't feel Christmassy at all. It's still
November.
November.
I do, because it's cold. I don't like the London cold. I'll never get used to it.
I feel Christmassy.
I've seen bang on 0 films so far. But by the time this video goes up, I will have seen at least one, hopefully one, maybe 2 if things have gone wild. Who knows? So it is one of them. And as always, before we really get into this, we do want to hear from people at home. So please do comment with what makes your Mount Rushmore for Christmas films. If you're unfamiliar with this series, we each pick a subject for a video. We then determine what would be our own Mount Rushmore of the subject, and then we come together at the end to try and do a combined one. And Christmas films is almost one of the most open genres ever made, because you could do a Mount Rushmore and anti-Christmas Christmas films. It's that intense. You could do animated ones. You could do Santa Claus films. You could do normal Christmas films. We're opening this for everything and everyone. So there are no rules other than the fact it's got to be a Christmas film. And we'll beam out the building if it's not. But we have all picked Christmas films. So, yeah. And I'm going to say Harry Potter, you don't count as Christmas films. I'm just getting that out there. That's a weird thing that I've seen online in the last few years. I see people watch them at Christmas time. Christmas films, they are not. But where do we go from here? I kind of want to put people on the spot, but I guess we could say this is a bit more personal, this one. So we'll each go in our own order. We'll each do one of our own, then 2 of our own, then 3 of our own, 4 of our own, and then we'll come together to try and do an objective one, which I think is going to be quite open, quite challenging, but you never know. And I'm just going to kickstart mine. I'm going to get one of the MVPs on the board. It was our Christmas video for Christmas Eve last year. Die Hard, Get On, Stay on That Mountain, I Will Not Let You Go.
That's my fault.
It's a Christmas film. Ren's got it for later. That's fine. It was always going to be spoken about. It's just a man who wants to reunite with his wife on Christmas Eve. He wants to save her from the terrorists. They can have and repair their relationship and move on with themselves. It's actually more family orientated than many films we might talk about in the next couple of weeks and next couple of hours. So Die Hard obviously makes my list. And I feel in a non-disturbing way, without this sounding terrible for the video, with Bruce Willis now in retirement, you're sort of at that level where you're looking at his career retrospectively, and Die Hard sits up there with the likes of Pulp Fiction, with so many of his great roles, and I absolutely love it. It's iconic, and I will fight people if they say it's not a Christmas film. It is. It's on the board. It's my number one.
What I really like about Die Hard is the fact that even though people argue whether it's a Christmas film or not, it's clearly a Christmas film. It mentions Christmas so many times. It's set at Christmas. They make sure that the audience know that there are Christmas things throughout the entire film. You could watch it any time of year. It's not like some of the Christmas films that are going to be picked in today where they are really only films that can really be watched at Christmas because they are so Christmas orientated, so Christmas themed. It works well on a ground level as a great action film. It works well on a ground level as a great Christmas film. And those two genres just kind of cross over. And even if it does feel Christmassy at some points, doesn't feel Christmassy at others, when you come out of it, you don't think that was a great Christmas film. You just think that was a great film. And that's what I love about Die Hard. That's why it isn't on my list, but that's why it was considered, at least for my list. It was considered. But no, I really enjoy Die Hard.
For me, it's the greatest Christmas movie of all time, bar none. Everything else is contending for second place. It's literally a movie about a man who wants to put his family back together. There's nothing more Christmassy than that. And for everyone who says, oh, it is sad at Christmas, but if it wasn't, it would just be the same movie. No, it wouldn't. He's only going there because it is Christmas. He's going from New York to LA because it is Christmas. He hates LA, but he's still going because he's embracing the spirit. And like Tate said, it's one of the all-time great action movies. It was the film that essentially launched Bruce Willis as a believable action star, because until then it was the Stallones, the Schwarzeneggers, the Van Dammes. Unfortunately, the Seagals were there already too. But yeah, it gave us one of the greatest action heroes in cinema history, and it gave us the greatest Christmas film in cinema history, as well as one of the great villains.
Yep. I mean, the thing is as well, is even down to the themes, like the best Christmas films for me are films about redemption. They're films where people want to be better people. You think about Ebenezer Scrooge, be a better person. You think about It's a Wonderful Life. It's a Wonderful Life is about seeing something better in yourself. And for me, Die Hard is about somebody who's trying to be a better person. He wants to be a better husband, a better dad. So it's about a man trying to redeem himself. It just so happens that he's got to kick the shit out of some German baddies. And what I love about it as well is that originally they were terrorists. And then John McTiernan went, don't make them terrorists, make them robbers, because that's more romantic. They're like, it's more romantic if they're robbers. If they're terrorists, it's not fun. And the whole film is fun. The thing is, it's funny, and there's great action bits, and there's great one-liners. But actually, the actual emotion of the film, the bit where Al Powell, Reginald Vell Johnson, is talking about how he wants to get home to be with his wife who's pregnant, and he talks about how he got benched because he accidentally shot a child, which is not the most cheery thing, but it's such a great scene where he's talking about his mistakes and Bruce Willis is picking glass out of his feet and talking about how he wasn't such a great husband. Yeah, I mean, and also, like you say, it launched Bruce Willis's career. He's an action hero who looks like an action hero. He looks like a normal guy. He doesn't, he's not a steroid-induced monster like Schwarzenegger or Stallone. He looks like your dad. He looks like your uncle. He's just a balding geezer who's had one hell of a bad night. And Alan Rickman, you are missed every single Christmas. If you've ever seen the thing where they're like, if you watch Love Actually and then you watch Die Hard, Alan Rickman gets punished for cheating on Emma Thompson. And that is what you get. And it's, Alan Rickman, first movie role. Imagine that. Imagine your first film, you become one of the greatest villains in cinema. You just can't beat it. It's bloody great. I love Die Hard.
Hans, Bobby.
I love it. The one-liners as well. I love it. I love it so much. It will appear on my list.
There you go.
Excellent. Tate, your first one.
Yeah, I'm the only one who hasn't picked Die Hard. That's interesting. So the way I've gone about my list is I'm looking at two different times in my life. I'm looking at the Christmases of me growing up and the Christmases of where I'm at now, and what I would put on
the Ghost of Christmas Past and the Ghost of Christmas Present.
Correct. I'm not. Oh well, technically one of them could be the Ghost of Christmas Future as well. So we'll talk into that as well. Growing up, I was kind of brought up on some quite family-friendly kind of, Christmas movies. So we're talking your kind of, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeers, and back when I was younger, I did watch It's a Wonderful Life, and I love those films dearly. But if you're a little kid and you're watching Christmas films and you're growing up in the early 2000s, there's one Jon Favreau film which really stands out, and it sticks with you throughout time. And I love Elf. I'll go ahead and say it. Elf is a very clever film. I think it's fantastic. And I know that people are saying it's gone to the point where it's annoying now, and it has become a bit of a joke that everyone is really obsessed with this film, but I can completely understand why. It's so cleverly written. I think it's one of Will Ferrell's best acting performances in comedic role, because he completely embraces kind of the looniness of the situation. You fully believe that he is a man-child, which is kind of the role that he was born to play. And all the cast and characters who come into it are just phenomenal. It's a nice, heartwarming story. It has some kind of side plots which go to quite hilarious places. In the end, it is probably one of the most watchable Christmas films, probably one of the most quotable modern-day Christmas films as well. And it's the one that's stuck around with this kind of generation that's grown up. That's why Elf is on my list.
Yeah, I love Elf.
Yeah, Elf's a good one. I never watched it growing up, but it's a good one.
You know what? It feels like the last Christmas film to get properly canonized as a classic. It feels like no Christmas film since has been like as classic. And It's not on my list, but we did. We have a tradition when we put the tree up, we watch Elf afterwards, and my 6-year-old loves it. He to him it is one of the funniest films. I mean, he's not seen many, but it still cracks me up. James Caan in that film as the dad is honestly, he looks like any second now he's going to go, I hate this film so much. He looks he's so good at playing unimpressed, and I love that. I love that ending when they bring out the Central Park Rangers and they're shot like the riders out of Lord of the Rings. It's so ridiculous.
Speaking of Lord of the Rings, did you see the someone did an elf party for Christmas, and then someone goes in dressed up as an actual elf from Lord of the Rings, and everyone else is in elf costumes? I thought that was quite funny, but it's a really good point about Christmas films, because you are right. What would the last great recognized Christmas classic be? I am thinking of Elf.
I am thinking.
I mean, I guess there's ones like The Holiday has sort of become one. I've never seen it.
I'm going to argue some later. I'll put it that way.
That's fine. Yeah, I know one.
I have a film that's more recent that I'm going to shout out. It's in one of my choices, but it is a fact, an unfortunate fact, that movie has not universally been acknowledged.
That's the same as the one I think.
Yeah, 100%.
We probably have the same one because we both love this one movie. I'm thinking of.
I think it's very possible that our lists are very similar, but for Elf as well, I think maybe because the Holiday's a bit more. It aims a bit older. It's it's a rom-com that you could it's aiming towards a teenage adult audience rather than the universality of he's a man that thinks he's an elf. It's the fish out of water thing, and Will Ferrell plays man-child better than anyone else. I saw that Jim Carrey was attached to play it, and I feel like with Jim Carrey you get a little bit more sinister with the man-child. I think Will Ferrell has the right amount of naivety that. Also, it's just the fact that he's very cool. It's in his face. It's that bit where he's singing with Zooey Deschanel in the shower. If that's Jim Carrey, it's creepy. If it's Will Ferrell, it's funny.
That's the difference, because Will Ferrell plays it so sincerely, and Carrey would give it a cynical edge, so to speak, which is not necessarily bad. Just the context makes it.
It's a gift to play man-child as well as Will Ferrell does, and also it's weird that that's the film that made him a Hollywood movie star, because you would think the classic thing is that you do movies and then you'll do a holiday film to supplement, and it's weird that he went straight in, and it is a classic, and it's a shame.
He went from SNL to Elf,
and SNL. And
I'm surprised they haven't done a joke about that.
It's great, and it's very quotable. It is annoyingly quotable. Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color? Singing. I love singing. It's my favorite. I am one of those guys that shout Santa. I know him. I am one of those guys.
Wow, that's weird.
So, Ren, it's your pick now?
My pick. Okay, so let's get the Die Hard out of the way, because since it's one of my picks as well. I mean, like I said, I don't even have anything else to say about Die Hard, because everything's been said. Because just sheer it is the last film I watch every year on Christmas Eve before we go to dinner, and then open the presents at midnight, and that's how it climaxes per se. That's Christmas right there, when Hans Gruber falls off the top of Nakatomi Plaza.
Paul, your first pick?
Yeah, I mean, mine's Die Hard 2. No, it's Die Hard. It's the first Die Hard. Although Die Hard 2 is also a Christmas film, and is solid. But no, I'll get my Die Hard out of the way. It's the first one on my list. I mean, what else could be said? Like I said, Alan Rickman, every single Christmas. We miss you so much.
Legend. Okay, right, round 2. Now this is where I feel like maybe we're not all going to have the same one. I'm going to my childhood. It's obviously Die Hard for me. One I got into my teen years, Rebel Without Cause, all that sort of stuff. But I'm going to go back to the classics. What did I grow up with? What films had a big impact on me? And I'm going to go through one, an absolute bona fide classic, starring one of the greatest action stars of all time, featuring my childhood hero at the age of 3, a certain Anakin Skywalker. Jingle All the Way.
Oh, come on. Stop stealing my
Absolutely.
choices, George.
It's I don't want to say it's perfect, but in terms of Christmas, right?
It is,
It's
though.
a film that's great as a kid. I know it's amazing as a kid. It's amazing as an adult. And as you spend a bit more time in the real world, right? And it's like, who'd save their shopping till Christmas Eve? Then you realize a lot of people who actually do that. And then you think about the in-demand toys of our time. Now, I know that this could never be done in the 2020s in terms of the internet, this and that, but Jingle All the Way is so comforting. And by the time you get to the end of it, the fact that his dad actually is Turbo Man and Jake Lloyd is so fucking cute as a child actor. Like it's so upsetting what that industry did to him. And there are people responsible for that who should have helped him. It's great that there's been interviews this year and he's picking up his health, which is great to see, and it's amazing. But at the same time, it's like Darth Vader's dad is Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like you can't wrap your head around it. He had no father. No, he fucking did. He did. He had Arnold Schwarzenegger as his father, and it's on my list. I love it. It's hilarious. It's aged so well. The Big Show pops up for a couple of moments.
Yep.
It's very funny throughout, and I just can't imagine Christmas. It's one of those that I do see it every year. I don't watch many Christmas films, but there's a handful that I make the effort to see every year, and Jingle All the Way is absolutely that. And it's also, as like an adult collector of certain things, it's very reminiscent throughout the years. Like when you miss your pre-order, and it's like that the next door neighbor, he's got everything. I got it months ago. I turned into him. You know, I don't have to worry about Black Friday deals. I had it ready months ago. So Jingle All the Way is on my nailed it. If either have kids, their presents will be sorted early. Don't worry.
I mean, with Jingle All the Way with me, I think it's such an easy watch. I've only seen it like one or two times, but for me, both times I've seen it, it's been such an easy ride to get into. You kind of lose track of time as you go through the film, and it has great pacing, you know, good action beats, hilarious comedy thrown in there. It's just such a great family film, and maybe it is kind of you know, the whole getting a present on Christmas Eve thing. That's no longer a thing that people do. And dear God, if it is a thing that people do, what are you doing? Like, honestly. But, you know, even though that bit of it maybe is a bit outdated, everything else has stayed the same. And it's still relevant to, you know, modern day kind of, you know, fighting over gifts and Black Friday and stuff like that. So, you know, yeah.
I saw a great video on Instagram, and it was a Black Friday clip apparently of like 20, 30 years ago. And it's this woman starts saying like, my daughter, someone stole $1 out of her hand, starts crying. It's only gone viral recently. Then it cuts to a woman in her 40s like, I've got the doll clip ends. It is absolutely perfect in 10 seconds. Because I thought Black Friday was a new thing. I didn't realize it goes like that long ago. But yeah, I'm all in the background. Sorry to jump in.
Yeah, I love Jingle All the Way as well. It would be my number 2, I guess. So we can already address it as that. I love it. Like it was really fun as a kid. Watching it as an adult, to be fair, an adult without kids, but still feels like the most realistic portrayal of what it is to be like someone shopping around for Christmas to get presents. But it has all those hijinks that you would see Arnold do every now and then, where instead of taking the proper serious action man role, he would have the self-aware sort of tongue-in-cheek family comedy, and he just embraces it so well. There's a bit in the film that I don't think has ever worked, which is the whole bomb situation with Sinbad, where I'm like, even if you just look at the context of the film, nothing beforehand or after feels like it's set in the same realm as that joke. But R.I.P. Phil Hartman, who is amazing in this. We're just talking about dead people in every single movie we spoke of so far. And to me, amongst all the many incredible quotes that Arnold has had, this one is the best quote with, "Put the cookie down now."
No.
It's incredible. Again, this is another one that I watch every year on Christmas Eve. It's just a perfect Christmas film.
Yeah, I'm not as crazy about Jingle All the Way as everyone else seems to be. I do enjoy it though. I do, mainly because I love Phil Hartman. He is the worst kind of neighbor, and Put That Cookie Down is objectively fucking hilarious. It's such an overreaction from Arnold. He's like, put that cookie down now. These are my cookies. It's so ridiculous. But I'm glad to hear Jake Lloyd's doing a bit better because him and Ahmed Best deserve nothing but love and hugs because they're good guys. But yeah, I enjoy Jingle All the Way.
Tayte.
Okay, so I'm not going very far into the future from my first pick. I'm going exactly 1 week into the future because 2003 was so stacked. I'm sorry, but 2003, you have Elf coming out on, I think it was the 14th of November. And then on the 21st of November, you had Love Actually coming out. Now, Love Actually, and me and George have actually had talks about this on the channel before, is a troubled film in the modern day kind of world. There are some things in the film which absolutely do not work. It is a product of its time. I'm going to leave it there. Everything else in the film is so charming. Like, everything else is so charming. This film is brilliant. All the different intertwining stories and various different things that go into it are just fantastic. It has one of the best casts of all time for any Christmas film. I mean, I'm just reading off the poster here. Hugh Grant, Liam Neeson, Colin Firth, Emma Thompson, Alan Rickman, Keira Knightley, Bill Nighy, Rowan Atkinson. The list goes on past that. But it's one of those Christmas films where I remember watching it growing up. Maybe I shouldn't have been watching it growing up because it's quite a raunchy film. It's got some kind of, interesting subjects kind of going on throughout the entire thing. But like now looking back on it, I can still have fun with this film. And I can still look back on some of the stories and go, do you know what? That's actually really good writing. And Richard Curtis always does this with his films. I love About Time. It's one of my favorite films of all time, About Time. And Love Actually is just kind of, a classic Christmas film for the lead up to Christmas and Christmas itself. And to top it all off, it has one of my favorite soundtracks to a film of all time with some absolutely classic songs that kind of get sprinkled in from the time.
It wasn't on my list, but I love Actually. It's one of those films that you can just pop on at any time. Like you said, a lot of the stories don't hold up. For me, it has always been the one with the best friend telling his best friend's wife in secret how he feels about. It's a whole thing. The healthiest relationship in that film is between stepfather and stepson. So
are you sure it isn't between Bill Nighy and his manager? Because I feel like
I think that's the second one. I think that's the second most healthy relationship in that film. Shout out to Colin Firth, and Lucia Muniz relationship because Portuguese character, Portuguese actor. They go to Portugal. That's good in my book.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite subplot. Because it's the most romantic. Because
it is.
I think it's got that hilarious bit where all the paper goes into the pond.
Yeah.
And he dives in, and then he goes, right, and now I have to, because if I don't, she's going to think I'm a total spaz. Is the great bit. And then, there's also, it has the most romantic bit in it when she only speaks Portuguese, he only speaks English, and he says, it's my favorite part of the day driving you. And then she says in Portuguese, it's my least favorite part of the day leaving you. Is a beautiful moment.
It's so
I do think Bill Nighy is hilarious in it. Don't buy drugs, become a pop star, and they give you them for free. Emma Thompson giving an awards-worthy performance when she has that little cry to Joni Mitchell in the bedroom.
Oh God, yeah.
Hugh Grant as the most feckless prime minister, and just the two bits with Rowan Atkinson where he's like, but you said you wanted it gift wrapped.
The gift wrap scene is it's pure. It's like a comedic sketch thrown into the film out of nowhere.
What are you going to do next? Dip it in yogurt, cover it in chocolate buttons.
But it's another film where Alan Rickman shines at Christmas. It's
he's a villain. He's always a villain during Christmas time for some reason.
I would say you're right that a lot hasn't aged well, and that Andrew Lincoln, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Keira Knightley bit is uneasy. But what I will say is when that storyline ends, spoiler alerts, and she kisses him, and then he walks off, and he goes, "All right, enough now." I really think that is a good moment. That's a nice moment of you've got closure. When he's like, he's gotten closure. It's a nice Andrew Lincoln's delivery of "enough now" is really great. And I enjoy the film a lot. I think Hugh Grant is effortlessly charming in it.
That is my favorite love story in the film.
The constant mocking of Martine McCutcheon's weight when she's not even that fat.
Insane.
Uncomfortable to watch on rewatch.
It doesn't make sense. How is anyone calling you fat? What the hell is going on?
He's gorgeous. But that bit, where he's like, what, the chubby girl? Oh, would we say chubby? I think there's the size of a ass there. Huge size. It's like, she looks fine. She looks absolutely
divine.
This was the early 2000s, remember? This was when, you had to be stick thin.
She looks like she was sculpted from marble. Jesus Christ.
My least favorite storyline is the Laura Linney storyline. Because I think it's just dour. But there was one thing which was
my least favorite is the used to be my favorite when I was a teen / preteen. The guy who goes to America, Colin
Crystal. Here comes Colin Crystal, and he's got a big knob. Whenever I see
George is just sat here at the hold on, George.
I've got no idea what's going on.
He has no idea what's going on. I don't know. Are we advertising the film to you at all, or not? Like, because
I'm seeing it in a few weeks. I know it's happening.
There you go.
Oh my god!
When I see Cassie, I have to admit, whenever I see American Cassie, I do shout "Wisconsin babes." It's. Yeah,
my favorite movie crush is in that scene, in that moment. So I have to respect the storyline just for that. Yep, the girl next door was the film.
Yeah, you shallow boy.
And then you completely forget about the storyline between Stacey from Gavin and Stacey and Martin Freeman doing the sex videos. Yeah, just
that bit where she kisses him and then he jumps down the 4 steps.
Yes,
is a lovely moment. That's such a lovely little moment of him just going, "Hey!" Yeah,
we've all been there.
It's not on my list.
Sorry, Ren, you've been in that exact situation where
I don't mean the exact situation. I mean that you got the victory, and so you have a little.
Okay, yeah.
It's great. And also the Rowan Atkinson thing. Apparently, after the bit at the airport, he was meant to just disappear. Like he was meant to fade out. The implication was that he was an angel, and then. Richard Curtis was like, maybe it's a step too far. But yeah, Bill Nighy, the role that made him Bill Nighy. So I'm forever grateful to that film. But yeah, it's great.
You're gonna like it, George.
Loving the love for love, actually. Ren,
we'll report back.
Next pick.
Okay, my next pick, we got the Die Hard out of the way. We got Jingle All the Way out of the way. Let's shout out the film that came out in 2020 on Netflix that people have failed to recognize for its beauty and glory, and that is Klaus. It is the most quintessential Christmas film ever. It's a movie about the creation of Christmas, and it's a movie where there's no villain. There's no one that is going to get their comeuppance. It's all about all these people that are angry and that are cynical and refuse to see things any other way that they already do. And then it's all about bringing them together and give a moment of joy for everyone. And if I continue to describe the film, I'm going to start crying. It looks amazing. It's one of the most gorgeous animated films I've ever seen. I think it's criminal that Netflix has never given it like a theatrical re-release, like on the Prince Charles or something like that during Christmas, maybe. The voice acting is phenomenal, and it just captures all that magic, all the good feelings that make you feel all warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum during Christmas. And that's what you want. And that's what Klaus does from the first frame to the last. Was it the same, Paul?
Second on my list. Second on my list, too.
I think the ultimate Mount Rushmore is going to be pretty easy to decide.
For me, casting J.K. Simmons as Father Christmas is one of those. Of course, he's
Red
so
One.
perfect. And then Red One bollocks it up. Wang. But in Klaus,
they're going to remake Klaus in live action now just to fix it.
Do you know what? I'd be fine. No, actually, I wouldn't, because I love the animation. It's so gorgeous to look at. It's so funny. It's so moving. The final scene is one of those. It's an uplifting ending, but it's tinged with the melancholy. Then that's what I want from Christmas. And Jason Schwartzman is great. Maya Rudolph's great, but goddamn, J.K. Simmons as Father Christmas is so. And I cannot. There are no words to describe how much I love Klaus. Every year,
The flashback with the wife alone is
Oh,
one of the most
goodness
beautiful things
gracious
I've
me.
ever seen.
It's-
My God.
It's such and again, it's that thing I was saying. It's a redemption story. Someone becoming a better man, and that's what I love. And yeah, every time I watch it, every Christmas, I'm just a sobbing mess by the end. And yeah, I love Klaus. It's if you've not seen it, it's on Netflix, and it should have won the Oscar for best animated film. It didn't, but it should have.
Yeah.
It's a lovely film. Lovely.
I was going to say I'm going to jump the gun here a little bit because it's my third pick as well. So I'll talk about it a little bit. We'll jump back to George afterwards. Klaus, I'm going to make a bold statement here. I know it's only kind of 5 years old. I personally think it is the best Christmas film ever made. I think it's the best film that has been made about Christmas, and it has become my recent kind of Christmas tradition to sit down, watch Klaus, and cry like a baby, because
it's the first film I watch on Christmas Eve. I get my breakfast ready and I watch Klaus while eating it.
It is one of the most beautifully animated films of all time. You know, were they Disney rejects, right?
Yeah.
Kind of, you know, they went from Disney, they went and made their own animation studio, they went and made this film. It's stunning. The voice acting's fantastic. The comedy in the film is on point. Nothing overstays its welcome, but the story behind it all, the quietness, the calmness that comes with it, the scene where, you know, Klaus kind of says, "I'm coming, love," and just, oh God, just, you know, I know. It is one of the most perfectly crafted films in recent times. And I'm sad to say that I slept on it when it first came out. I watched it as part of our animation roundup. I thought it was fantastic. But as I've gone back to watch it year on year, it just gets better on rewatch upon rewatch upon rewatch. And it has become a tradition. I've now watched it, 4 years in a row. I'll be watching it this year. I may watch it twice.
Same here.
I'll be sobbing all the way through it because it transcends anything that I could have believed that a Christmas film could do in the modern age. And the fact that it's animated as well, it gives the shout out that, people can have Die Hard as their favorite Christmas film, but this is easily the best Christmas animated film. And I think it is the best film about Christmas itself. Yeah. So it had to be on my Mount Rushmore.
I too have never seen Klaus, so it's not on my list. It's okay. It's okay.
Fix that this year.
Yeah,
I'm going to see more this year. I've got a lot of films to watch. I will watch Love Actually.
It is truly a lovely film, Klaus. It's so lovely, and it's a shame it got slept on. But I think it's one of those ones.
Netflix.
Yeah,
it is.
More people year on year are discovering it, and it's building the momentum of people are going, "Have you ever seen that, Klaus? It's a great film." Yeah. Everyone I know who's seen it.
Netflix, put it in cinemas during Christmas.
Come on, let the Prince Charles show it. I would on stage the shit out of that movie. I love it.
100%.
Okay, right. I'll go to my third pick. So we're just zigzagging. So it'll be my third pick. I'm just planning in my head. My third pick, Paul's third pick, and then we're all on around 4.
Yeah, that's
we've all had. I thought we're going to have like 16 different films. No, clearly.
No.
Okay, let's see if anyone else has got this. My third one. I'm going to another childhood one. One of my sister's favorite Christmas films. One that we watched on my dad's birthday the year it came out. We had this very bizarre Christmas trend. My dad's birthday is the 22nd of December. So for many years, we would always end up at the cinema. I remember a series of unfortunate events. I remember King Kong. I remember this film I'm going to talk about. And there's been so many. And I guess you get the big blockbuster, don't you, this time of year? But in the year 2000, we had one of the all-time greats, The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, Jim Carrey, my favorite comedy actor of all time. Yes, he's returning with another December release this year with Sonic 3. I have this right up there. And I know that in meme culture, it's there with the dog. You know, when he's going into the face of the camera POV, it's like me to my dog when I'm trying to get his attention. Yeah. It's perfect. It's perfect for Christmas. It's about the meaning of Christmas. I always do the quote, and the Grinch's heart, the Grinch's heart grew an inch, or however they say it. It's a Ron Howard film, which is also massively underrated. Like again, you get a bit older, you get to it like, wow, like Ron Howard made the Grinch. The production design, I love the sets, the costume, the entire thing, just the entire film is perfect. And then even the traumatic moment, you realize it's set on a snowflake and they're going through impending death when it hits the ground. It is even more terrifying as an adult. So there's a lot more going on there. And for me, it's more that family important side of things. It is on every year. We'll watch it every year. I know it's on TV like every year, but it's one of the ones that we bought and we own and we see it. So the Grinch is up there for me. I got a lot of memories of that. And sorry to be judgmental, but no, I'm not going to watch the Despicable Me Grinch version. No, thank you.
It's awful.
And did Benedict Cumberbatch do a version as well? I'm not going to watch that too.
That is.
Oh, is it?
The Illumination one.
And this is it's Jim Carrey. Put a mask on Jim Carrey. He's perfect. He is so, again, one of my all-time great comedy actors. I love him. And I think when you look at his career, you can pick so many different defining roles. And I feel like the Grinch is always going to be in the conversation right at the top of that with a few others. Absolutely adore it. So the Grinch is my third pick on my list.
I like the Grinch. It's one of those films where, sadly, I haven't seen it enough to comment on it. And it's got to the point where I know the film more from memes than I do from actually seeing the film. But I do remember watching it as a kid. And, with any Dr. Seuss kind of property or media, they've done it wrong so many times. But with the Grinch, they actually did it right. And they kind of got everything right. I'm looking at you, Horton Hears a Who.
Jim Carrey.
Dear God. The Lorax.
Oh, no, I like the Lorax. I like the Lorax.
I like the Horton Hears a Who.
I like the Lorax a lot.
Yeah,
I think the Lorax is underrated.
I think the Lorax gets too much hate. I don't know that it's like really good, but I think it gets too much hate.
I love the Lorax. The How Bad Can I Be song is one of the great villain songs, in my opinion.
But to balance things out, I'm going to be a Grinch because I hate this version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Well, Ren, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And
now, as soon as you said the word "I hate the Grinch," you now have to rhyme with that for the rest of this video. You know that, right?
The version of the Grinch I watch every year is the animated short with I believe it's Boris Karloff from the 80s.
Yeah.
That to me is the version I really do not care for this version. I think Jim Carrey is spot on casting if you're going to do a live act or an animated. If it was just a voice, doesn't matter. Like, he is spot on casting for the Grinch, but this film does too good a job at making me sigh with the Grinch, because throughout this whole film I hate every person in Whoville. They are so superficial, so petty, they are so detestable, and to
so
me
real.
The whole thing with the story of the Grinch, like you see it in the animated one, the Illumination one with Benedict Cumberbatch has many faults, but you see purity, you see kindness, you see compassion, you see earnestness in that entire village. Like, if you're going to describe the village, Whoville, as a character in the Ron Howard, it's everything that is not Christmassy. So it kind of defeats the purpose of the point of the story for me personally. So yeah, I'm not a fan of this version. I'm sorry.
It was nearly in my top 4. Jim Carrey formed a lot of my humor. I wanted to be Jim Carrey, and How the Grinch Stole Christmas is a Christmas favorite of mine. The film held the record for the most actors in makeup until Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Volume 3? It took that long?
Yeah,
Okay.
because there were so many extras in Who makeup, and it wasn't until they go to Counter-Earth with all the makeup effects there that it got beaten. But so that's how people became dependent on CGI and things like that. But the Rick Baker Who effects are great. The James Horner score, Where Are You Christmas, is a lovely song. I love the fact that they brought back You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. Jim Carrey's rendition is great. It's so, for me, that design, the way everything looks like it's just designed so well. The cars, the hats, the doors. It looks like the Dr. Seuss book. The origin, is moving. The jokes are so funny. I quote the Grinch all the time. The bit where, for me, it's just the little Jim Carrey moments where they're like, "Daddy, move! Dad, move it!" Or when he's like, the great bit where he's like, "The presents, they'll be destroyed, and I care. What is the deal?" It's just so the schedule with himself is hilarious, where he's whispering and he's like, "By the time it gets back, I won't be able to hear it. You're an idiot." Is great. Little Taylor Momsen before she was a Gossip Girl is great. Jeffrey Tambor, boo, but he's great as the mayor. Christine Baranski, Molly Shannon. The whole thing works for me. And by the end, I am sobbing like a little baby. When he's trying to save the sleigh, and he's like, "They're just presents," and then he sees little Cindy Lou Who. It's great. I love the Grinch. And Jim Carrey had to be trained by Navy SEALs to endure the makeup, which is hilarious to me. He was like, he said that the first day they put the makeup on, he went into his trailer and put his foot through the door and was like, "I quit." So they trained him, they got people who survived torture to teach him how to survive torture. He was like, "I'm being buried alive in dyed yak hair." And he was like, "I had to smoke with a cigarette holder so the yak hair didn't go up in flames." And I love it. And I hate the Illumination one, and I do like the Boris Karloff one as well. But I love it so much. It's great.
Excellent. Paul, your third choice now.
Right. So I've not gone for How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I'm going for a film that's not been mentioned yet, and I'm very upset it's not been mentioned yet. I'm going for one from my childhood, a film that I think is one of the greatest stories ever told. Told in one of the greatest ways ever told, with one of the greatest actors of all time, and the greatest troupe of characters of all time. I am going for the Muppet Christmas Carol.
There we go.
The greatest version of A Christmas Carol with Michael Caine, one of our great actors.
Michael Caine.
There is nothing about this film I don't like. I love it. I love the story of A Christmas Carol. I like all versions. I even don't, except the Guy Pearce one. I don't like that. I love this one the most because for Scrooge to work, he has to be unlikable but redeemable. And sometimes people go a bit too far with their Scrooges. Sometimes they're too mean, and I don't want them to get redeemed. I want them to just die. Sometimes they're not mean enough.
Yeet to every person in Whoville on the live-action Grinch.
Exactly. Sometimes Scrooge isn't mean enough and doesn't need redemption. Michael Caine gets it just right. There's a glimmer in his eye that there was something about him people liked. The Paul Williams songs are amazing. Marley and Marley is metal as fuck. There is no need for a kids' film to literally have two puppets scream, "You're doomed for all time." That is an insane lyric. "You're doomed for all time. Your future is a horror story written by your crime" is insane for a kids' film. I love Kermit the Frog. I love Fozzie Bear. I love it all. And every time I watch it, Michael Caine can't sing at all. Bless him. But by the time he sings at the end, I don't care. I just don't care. Like, you forget you're watching a film about felt puppets, and you just are invested in this story and invested in, the story of Ebenezer Scrooge. And I think it's the best version. Yes, I've been to the sing-along at the Prince Charles, and I am there belting out Thankful Heart at the end. It's a classic for a reason, and I love the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Amazing. I saw it for the first time last year. I loved it. I absolutely adored it. And I'm glad you brought Michael Caine as well, who's now very happily retired, and it will always go down as one of his all-time greats. And was this the first Muppet film to begin the whole? No. You know the meme trend online where it's like, if you could have the whole cast.
Yeah,
it was the first one.
Is it the first one where it's one human actor and the rest are the Muppets, or has that happened before?
Did they do Muppet Treasure Island? Was that before or after?
I don't know if it was before, but I think wasn't Muppets in Manhattan the first one?
So you got Muppet Movie, then you got Muppets Take
go.
Manhattan, then you got the Great Muppet Caper, then then the Muppet Christmas Carol. Because the thing was, Jim Henson had died by the time Muppet Christmas Carol came out.
The first one with that, wasn't it?
So it's dedicated to his memory. His son Brian directs it, and apparently before he had to voice Kermit the Frog, Steve Whitmire had a dream that Jim Henson met him in a hotel and said, "Don't worry, you're going to do a great job." And he woke up the next day and went to the recording booth and was like, "I've got this."
I'm all hyped up now.
Oh my god, it's great! It's great. I love Statler and Waldorf. Them as Marley and Marley is hilarious. It's and Michael Caine. The fact that the thing if you've seen the meme where it says Michael Caine and Tim Curry are great in their Muppet films because Michael Caine treats the Muppets like actors, and Tim Curry treats himself like a Muppet. And I think that's great. The fact that he said, "I'm going to perform this like I'm with the Royal Shakespeare Company," is why it works. Because you'll never be funnier than the Muppets, so don't bother. And he doesn't. He gives an Oscar-worthy performance against the Muppets. It's great.
My favorite bit in this one is, and it's so funny because it caught fire on the internet last year just because of the delivery being that was kind of funny purposefully. Is the and to little Timmy who did not die,
Who did not die?
Oh, good.
Oh god, that was beautiful.
Okay, we're on round 4. Yeah, we're on round 4. Okay. 4. I'm stuck between 2.
you had 47 minutes.
Yeah.
No, I know. I've kind of got more of a classic, but then I kind of want to give a loving shout out to one. I'm not going to pick this. I'm going to give a shout out to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. If there were 6 mountains, you'd have been on there. But okay, let's go over an outright classic. Again, another personal one. There's been a bit of a theme. I've made this more of a personal list than the other ones I've done. But it's not been spoken about yet, which is kind of wild. I thought it might have. Whether we're all saving it to the end, who knows? Maybe it's been overplayed. It does unfortunately have a sequel starring a president of a certain country now. Let's talk about Home Alone. Chris Columbus, absolute bona fide classic. An incredible child performance, bringing on. I don't even know where to begin with this film. I'm really honest. This is the first. Let's plug the next video. The first Christmas special we're doing this year is Home Alone. You can work out from the intro. So let's get it out there. I'm going to talk about more detail next week, but I believe that maybe it's a certain demographic, a certain generation that Home Alone is just perfect. The setting, the John Williams score that comes with it, the innocence of the childhood, the intelligence of the story. I love that Skyfall's even had Home Alone comparisons, that it's become the ultimate classic within cinema itself. Even looking at it now, we get a young, oh my God, I almost called him by a Succession name. Sorry, I'm just picturing...
Kieran Culkin.
We get Kieran Culkin like as a child, which even adds to Home Alone decades later that it's Kieran Culkin now. I mean, Macaulay Culkin, you're amazing in this, and like what we spoke of Jake Wood earlier, right? He's so much healthier and happy now, which is also amazing. But I just you can't look past it. The fact to get Joe Pesci in this as well.
Oh my God!
Like he did not just one Home Alone film, 2. It's one of the greatest back-to-back double bills you could ever do. But I'm going with the first one. It's insane. It's every kid would love to be able to, basically torture 2 burglars.
I wonder how many kind of, kids watch this film and booby trapped their house or like did things like that over Christmas, because I feel like there would be a generation of people that would.
Oh, no, mine does. I wake up sometimes and he's tied, bungee cords on the stairs. I was like, showing you that film was a terrible idea. Micro machines fucking everywhere.
You've turned your kid into a psycho.
Have you got like a cardboard cutout to put in the windows yet?
But the thing is, I say whenever we're like, oh, do we get a babysitter? I'm like, nah, you leave him with a couple of tins of paint and some micro machines. They'll be fine. He's seen Home Alone. He knows what to do. He'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Why are you worrying? No, I love Home Alone. Home Alone's great.
The one thing about Home Alone, which it's been brought up so many times, You have to suspend belief that the family forgets about their son when flying, on holiday.
Does it again?
Twice.
Sorry.
Twice. Insanity. But apart from that, it is a Christmas classic. It's an all-time classic for Christmas. I don't see it enough. I've seen it a few times, and it might be on my list of things to go through this year for Christmas films. But it's one of those where I feel like it might end up on the Mount Rushmore purely out of the fact that it is just one of those. It's Home Alone. It's a great Christmas film.
Yeah, it's one of those that would always play Christmas Eve, Christmas Day would be playing on one of the channels. So it sort of became this more of a background movie at some point to us because it would just be playing every year. We know it. I personally prefer number 2. Not to say it's a better movie, but it's the same thing as with to give an example, with Hangover to Hangover 2, Ted to Ted 2. First one's the better movie. I think the sequels are funnier, if that makes sense. I laugh more with the sequels, especially Ted. Ted 2 is not to get off track, but it's such a funnier movie, on a joke per beat basis that hits. And Home Alone 2, the one scene with a crooked president aside, it just works. Plus Tim Curry,
and Rob Schneider.
And Piers Morgan as well.
Piers Morgan. No, the thing about Home Alone 2 is that Home Alone 2's got the better song. All Alone at Christmas by Darlene Love and the E Street Band is better than Somewhere in My Memory. I will say that. But for me, the best bit, the whole subplot with the elderly man that lives across the street that comes in and just twats him on the head at the end is great. That scene in the church is lovely. All the stuff with John Candy in the van with playing polka music. Polka is great. Love John Candy, also sorely missed. But for me, the bit where he's in the church and he talks to the old man and then he goes home and he starts getting the house ready and it's playing that music, that great John Williams score of Carol of the Bells, and I'm like, he's going to fuck him up. It's go time. I get so jazzed. I'm like, oh, look at him. He's getting the spider out. He's watering the steps. Joe Pesci, you're so screwed now. And I love it. Joe Pesci as well. Well done for not swearing, because that must have been tough as shit. That swear jar must have been
did not need to go that hard on the score.
Oh,
did you see the documentary recently? He actually spoke about it
No,
was all very last
not
minute.
seen it yet.
It's really they give a couple of minutes to Home Alone. It sort of segues into Harry Potter because of Chris Columbus kids film. But he's basically like, it all fell through with our composer, and then John Williams' agent popped up like, I think John would be interested, and he's like, I've never done a Christmas film before. I'm in. That's it. That's all he needed.
And we're all the better for it.
Legend, absolute legend. I'm glad they spoke.
That Carol of the Bells needle drop with the guitar underneath doing the house is honestly, that is like on Christmas Eve, you're like, yeah, come on, Joe Pesci, you're gonna get some. It's great. And it's so funny. It's so funny. Home Alone is great. It's not on my list, but I love Home Alone.
Good. So, my final pick now. We've done my Ghost of Christmas Past, I guess, with Elf and Love Actually. We've done Klaus as my Ghost of Christmas Present. I guess we now look to the future. And I guess the future is something that is technically in the past and somewhat in the present as well. But it's a film from last year. It's The Holdovers, which is going to become...
shout.
It's going to become my new Christmas tradition, because what a fantastic, hilarious film. If there's a film about Christmas, what do we do at Christmas? We argue with our family, and then we make up at the end. And this film is just an argument across, most of it's 2 hours, 10 minutes runtime. Paul Giamatti has one of his best performances in years. Like, he is absolutely brilliant. The linguistic kind of, tongue-twisting sentences that he spews out, the various different insults that he gives throughout the film, which is just absolutely so well put together, are fantastic. Divine Joy Randolph deserved the Oscar for her performance. She was fantastic in that role. And then Dominic Sessa, his first ever film role, We were talking about other
Insane.
people, first film roles. This is a brilliant first ever film role. It comes back to that kind of Die Hard. It's a Christmas film, but it doesn't feel like it has to be a Christmas film. It's just a film that's, got some Christmas things in the background. It's just a solid film beyond that. It's got such great chemistry on the screen. It's so well put together. I love the fact that it feels retrograded back into that time period. It feels like it was made to be an instant, like, this can be thrown on and no one will know kind of, what year it was made. People think it's older than it actually is. So it has that almost instant classic feel to it. I've already seen it like 3 times since it came out last year. I'm going to be watching it again this Christmas. It will become, my new Christmas classic film to go along with Klaus, along with a load of other films which I'll watch on repeat over Christmas time. But I think The Holdovers definitely needs to be mentioned, definitely needs to go onto my own personal Mount Rushmore.
I love this movie so much. Going into it, I wasn't necessarily excited. I was intrigued because I'm not the biggest Alexander Payne fan. Also, sort of dramedy, running it over 2 hours. Like, are they going to earn this? And they absolutely did. I think this film is the perfect balance of hilarious, somewhat raunchy, and heartfelt, sincere. It perfectly portrays the perspective of the student that we've all understand because we've all been there, but kind of they explore the perspective of the teacher and being level-headed. And of course, who can forget one of the greatest quotes of all time? Hardy, I have known you since you were a boy, so I think I have the requisite expertise and insight to aver that you are and always have been penis cancer in human form. One of the greatest insults ever spoken in film by Paul Giamatti. I'm so happy you shouted this one out because it's such a joyous watch, despite the heaviness of some of the plot elements. And I definitely need to add it to my yearly round Christmas rotation as well.
Yeah. Loved it. I saw it at London Film Festival last year, and it brought down the roof. People were walking out going, "What a great film!" It went straight into my top 10 of last year.
I think all of us were kind of like, we don't know how this is going to be, right?
Yeah, I was a bit like, I can take or leave Alexander Payne. Some of his stuff I like. I like Sideways. I did like Descendants. I did not like Downsizing. I've not liked Nebraska. Wasn't to my taste. Went into that thinking I like Paul Giamatti. Christmas film in October, a bit early. Loved it. Then I rewatched it in December. Then I watched it in December. Made my mum watch it, and it's like a cozy jumper.
Yeah.
You put it on, you're like, oh, isn't this nice? It's lovely. It's acerbic, witty, moving. When Randolph won the Oscar, I was just like, yes. Absolutely yes. I don't care who. I can't even remember who else was nominated. I don't care. It was her Oscar, and she deserved it. And seeing her on that stage and Paul Giamatti bawling his eyes out. The only thing I would say was that was snubbed for Dominic Sessa because he was supporting actor. He was phenomenal as well. It's such a great 3-hander, and it's a lovely film, The Holdovers. And if you've not seen it, check it out. It's on Sky Movies, and oh my goodness! And the final scene is one of those ones where you're just like, yep, this has stuck the landing so well. I'm just, I literally I walked out of that film just like grinning ear to ear, like I love that. That was absolutely just what the doctor ordered, and at Christmas, that's what you need. Yeah, no, I'm glad you picked that one because I bloody love that film.
It's another one of those, like Tayte was saying earlier, like Die Hard. Yes, great Christmas film. It's also just a great film.
It's a great movie. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Released in January 2024 in the UK.
Hooray!
Well done for releasing a Christmas film after Christmas.
That's a bad release for it because it's the perfect. All right, 15 rated, but it's the perfect. Go see it. Go take your grandma to see it because she'll get a kick out of it because it's a throwback. It's got the grain of old film on it. It's such a throwback, and it is lovely. It is great, but releasing it in January, what a stupid choice.
Sorry, just had to say that. Ren, your last one.
All right, my last one. No one has picked it yet. It has been mentioned earlier in this episode, and we're all having such a wonderful time that I think nothing is more appropriate than choosing It's a Wonderful Life. Paul said it early, best Christmas films are about redemption. Who doesn't love a redemption story? And who doesn't love a little bit of self-love? I think especially during Christmas time, a lot of people can feel more isolated, more alone, feel more of the heaviness of maybe what they didn't accomplish that they set out to accomplish this year, and they still deserve that opportunity to realize you are loved, you matter, be with the people that matter to you because you matter to them as well. It's just one of those timeless stories that whenever someone does their version of It's a Wonderful Life, we say they're doing It's a Wonderful Life because it has become the reference. It's got all the heart. One of the greatest actors of all time, Jimmy Stewart. The boss doesn't get enough comeuppance, but I think that's the one flaw you can find with the film. And yeah, it's also one of those, they have not even tried to remake this because it's even Hollywood in all of its greed recognizes, this is fucking flawless. There's nothing else we can do with this besides adding color to it. And why are you going to waste millions just doing that?
Yeah, I agree.
I love it.
I agree.
I think we'll be speaking about it later.
Yeah, I've been to the Prince Charles to see it with my whole family. We all went, and I sobbed start to finish. Do you know what it is with Jimmy Stewart? You genuinely believe he's on the verge of taking his own life. When he's in the bar crying, you genuinely see the despair in his eyes, and then you see the joy. And it's got one of the most romantic scenes when he says, "What do you want? The moon? I'll throw a lasso around it. I'll pull it down."
Yeah,
is a beautiful moment. Mr. Potter, one of cinema's most hateable human beings. Fucking hate you, Mr. Potter. I hate you.
You must be a Who from Who, though.
You're the worst human being. I hate you so much. But no, I love it. And that final scene, all the people coming in, giving the money, him holding his kids it's so moving. Honestly, if I talk about it too much, I'll start crying because yeah. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. Attaboy, Clarence. You're like, yes, you've nailed a perfect movie.
Even the fucking angel gets a compelling arc. What the hell?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Everything about it just works. And you know, that whole idea of just the world being without one good person makes the world an irrevocably awful place. It's something I think at Christmas you need to remember that, because the world is kind of a ball of shit, and it has been going on a downward slope. Well, exactly, and with not to get too political, the Andrew Tates of the world, the Piers Morgans, the Donald Trumps,
the people who put on Twitter their screenshots of movies in the cinema, and the ones that are defending that choice.
Yes, the high-profile writers that aren't very but even with all of those people, it's nice that there's a film that every year goes, hey, if you're decent, you might not change the world, but you'll change the people you love's world. And that's a beautiful sentiment. And, just seeing the world without Jimmy Stewart in it is such an upsetting prospect that, when he's running through the town at the end, it's
with his oversized scarf.
With his and he's screaming "Merry Christmas." You're like, yes. And when I saw it at the Prince Charles, honestly, I was a blubbering mess. I nearly had to be carried out of the screen. I was like, I can't go on. This film's too perfect. It's great. I love it.
And
I love it.
How the movie does everything it's going for, it's kind of like, it's really fucking easy to be a good person.
Just don't poison people, and make sure people don't drown.
It demands so much more work to be a shitty human being.
Excellent. We might talk about that later. Paul, final pick.
So, this is tough because there's a lot of Christmas films I love. Here are some ones that didn't make the list that I wanted to put in there. Filth, the James McAvoy film. I love Filth. A little bit of Christmas darkness.
Got the great moment.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've never seen it. So
It's a great dark Christmas film. Very, very dark-hearted. Nearly had Lethal Weapon. Love Lethal Weapon.
never seen it.
Lethal Weapon is basically It's a Wonderful Life. A suicidal man is taught that life is worth living by a doddering old geezer. Lethal Weapon is just a very violent It's a Wonderful Life. Nearly had that. Nearly had Home Alone. Nearly had All of Us Strangers. Lovely film from last year that moved me. Nearly had that. But I have gone for a little bit of an alternative, darker Christmas film. No, it's not Gremlins, though I do love Gremlins. I like my Christmas films with a little bit of darkness, a little bit of weirdness, a little bit of S&M. I like Batman Returns.
Oh, of course.
The bigger, better, hornier, nastier Batman movie from Tim Burton. It's horny. It's a horny movie. Everybody's trying to cop off of each other. It's
Trying to cup a feel.
It's weird. It's dark. It's mean. It's everything I want in a Tim Burton film. It's almost a horror film. Danny DeVito doing the Lord's work as the Penguin, constantly spewing gunk out of his mouth. Michael Keaton cashing a check and not caring. Christopher Walken, for some reason, with crazy hair, basically being Donald Trump. Michelle Pfeiffer in the skin-tight cat suit. The weird circus stuff. It's great. I love Batman Returns. One of my favorite Danny Elfman scores. If Neil was here, Neil would back me up on this one because I know he loves Batman Returns. Again, people go, "Oh, it's not a Christmas film." No, it's a Christmas film, and it was the first Christmas film I've watched this season, and I can never get bored of it. It's technically a terrible Batman film. It completely disregards the lore of the comics. But do you know what?
Yes.
Much like Constantine, I don't care because I love it as a Tim Burton movie. I love it as a weird, horny S&M horror film about animal freaks than I do as a comic book film. And it's nuts. It's so nuts. No wonder they were like, get rid of Tim Burton. No wonder, because this is like, how are you going to sell this to kids? It's terrifying. The Penguin Man bites a man's nose off. It's insane. It's great. I love Batman Returns.
I thought you were going with Nightmare Before Christmas then.
I thought you were going Green Knight until you said S&M, honestly.
Yeah,
like.
the S&M threw me.
Could have gone Green Knight. Love Green Knight as well.
Green Knight's a
Could have gone
fantastic
Prometheus.
Christmas film as well.
I very nearly picked Prometheus. I'll be honest with you.
Listen, Batman Returns, it spoke about for many great reasons, and I do like the alternate Christmas films. I feel like they are more not approved now than they were back in the day, but I feel like people are more open to them in calling them Christmas films when technically they always were. And you mentioned a few Shane Black's films tonight. I mentioned Kiss Kiss Bang Bang as well, so I'm glad we got an alternate one in there. And you are right, they nailed the cast of Batman Returns. And you know what? I'll say this. I like Joel Schumacher's Batman films. I'm glad we ended up getting them. I like both, and I'll fight people on that. I like both of them.
I like bits of Batman Forever.
I like Batman Forever a lot.
Sorry to segue in terms of Batman conversation.
I like Kiss from a Rose. Does that count? Or?
Yes. The best Batman soundtrack. Although the Susie and the Banshees song, Face to Face from Batman Returns, is very good. But Kiss from a Rose is the best song done for a Batman film.
It might be one of the best songs done for any comic book movie, honestly. Like,
I think it's just one of my favorite songs. I love that song.
Great
That
song,
is a karaoke favorite of mine.
I still think Spider-Man has the best comic book songs.
Well, I like
And
Jack
credits
Kruger.
to Spider-Man
The
1.
first Spider-Man has Hero. The second Spider-Man has Vindicated, and another one that I'm blanking on. But those two songs are bangers.
Vindicated is good. Vindicated is good, and so is Hero. But Kiss from a Rose, though, it doesn't need to. Seal didn't need to start cooking with fire for that Batman movie. He sanctioned Jim Carrey's buffoonery and he understood the assignment.
I sanctioned his buffoonery. He was great.
Yeah, man.
He wasn't the Riddler, but he was great.
Still the best Riddler, and I love Paul Dano. Still, you'll never top the original 60s. But sorry, I'm turning to a Batman conversation. Although, what's to say the Batman Part 2 isn't set at Christmas with a certain scientist who we want to see on the big screen for the first time since Batman and Robin, please. Thank you.
Done properly, like in Batman the Animated Series, where it's a tragedy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
come on, Matt Reeves.
Right. Sorry to segue and get into a Batman hype. Everyone watch The Penguin.
Yeah.
Combine Mount Rushmore.
I still have to
combine
watch
Mount
it.
Rushmore. I can't believe I've seen it. Okay, let's go through our 4 each. I have Die Hard, Jingle All the Way, The Grinch, and Home Alone.
My picks were Elf, Love Actually, Klaus, and The Holdovers.
I have Die Hard, Klaus, Jingle All the Way, It's a Wonderful Life.
I had Die Hard, Klaus, The Muppet Christmas Carol, and Batman Returns.
I love it. 4 very varied lists, even with some repeats. And now we have the joyous... How the fuck do we merge these
First
into
part's
one?
easy, right? First part's easy. We throw on
Well-
Die Hard, we throw on Klaus, right? Sure.
Well,
I mean, Klaus even more so than Die Hard, because we have 3 people who've picked Klaus.
We have 3 people who picked Die
Klaus
Hard,
go?
didn't we?
Does Klaus go with Space 4 because it's the most recent one? I quite like that.
I guess
Right?
so,
Nothing's
yeah.
going to be more modern than
Yeah.
Klaus. Right. Okay. Let me chuck Klaus on, nice and simple. Right. Before we talk Die Hard, I want to talk about a film. I'm glad you brought up at the end, Ren. Heading into this, I knew I wasn't going to talk about It's a Wonderful Life in my 4, but I feel like it has to be on there.
I agree.
I mean,
Earliest
I'm
film,
biased, but I agree.
anything before that came out year wise? Because not I've got into the OCD of doing. I like doing them in chronological order.
I would say It's a Wonderful Life is one of those where I know we talk about Die Hard being a classic Christmas film, but really, if we're talking about classic films, It's a Wonderful Life is a classic. So I think
the epitome of Christmas.
It's a Wonderful Life goes definitely first place on the Mount Rushmore because it's probably going to be the oldest. And then Die Hard's going to flick between kind of second or third, depending on what we pick around it. But I get the feeling that Die Hard's probably second, and we're going to pick something a little bit more modern for the next one.
Okay, I'm with you on Die Hard in Space 2. That sounds so weird. This is going quick. Blimey, we've got It's a Wonderful Life, Die Hard, and Klaus
This is
already.
the hardest decision here because I feel like we're all going to have different opinions on what goes into that spot.
I'm going to open the floor. I like doing this. Is there any film that's not been spoken about today that someone wants to make a case for that should be in this? Because this is the objective list. This isn't just our picks merging together. This is.
I maybe
what
should
do
have
we
spoken
think?
about it earlier because I want to shout something out, but I'm not even saying let's
for it.
put it on the ultimate Mount Rushmore. But I want to shout out a very underrated Christmas movie called The Man Who Invented Christmas, and it's about Charles Dickens writing A Christmas Carol, with Christopher Plummer playing Scrooge, aka Charles Dickens' dad, and Dan Stevens playing Charles Dickens, and it's a very underrated movie. You should all watch it. Gets a little bit darker than it should, I think, at points. But it's good.
Christmas films. I'd like to shout out the Santa Claus quickly, just because I'm not saying it should be on the list, but the Santa Claus is great. Well, I feel like the 90s was like the peak. Maybe because I was born in the 90s. Maybe that's why I think this. But I feel like the 90s had some of the best Christmas movies.
They did.
It had like Jingle All the Way, Batman Returns, Muppet Christmas Carol, Home Alone, The Santa Claus. I love The Santa Claus, and I think that even if it doesn't make the list, it should be shouted out because I think it is great. And I rewatched it yesterday with my 6-year-old, and he thoroughly he said his 2 favorite bits was the bit where Father Christmas fell off the roof
and died.
Yep, because he's a psychopath. And the bit at the bit where he dyes his hair and shaves his beard, and then it immediately grows back. He liked that bit as well. So the body horror bits were the bits he liked the most, when it was David Cronenberg's The Fly for kids.
I'm with you on the 90s. This is a selfish thing. The 90s is my favorite decade for cinema. And it's not as the same as you. It's not because I was born in it. I think in the 90s, you get those sort of those 80s films coming in the early 90s, right? They're still the leftover of the 80s eras. Then you're getting the 90s almost gritter sorts, where this hybrid of not the action star drama, but you were getting the stars in these dramatic roles, and you were getting a new generation breaking in. Your Brad Pitt, your DiCaprio's, who would go on to dominate.
And the anti-hero became popular in film and media in general. It was the 90s.
Yeah, and then by the time it gets into the 90s, you're starting to get your fucking gargantuan blockbusters. You're starting to get CGI to the smallest extent, your Matrix, your Phantom Menace, and that really sets up the noughties. Well.
Like you think about all the great directors that started in the 90s, Fincher, Danny Boyle, Tarantino, all those directors that became like the great directors of the modern age. And I just think the 90s had, 90s had Fight Club, 90s had Seven, 90s had Jurassic Park, 90s had The Lion King.
There you go.
90s had The Lion King, and it had Jurassic Park, and it had Schindler's List, and it had Matrix, and it had Tarzan, and Iron Giant's great, and the 90s was great cinema.
Let's just
great
put
independent
one in the final
studios,
but
making great movies. But yeah,
I'm going to make a case for the one outside of the 90s. I'm going to make the case for Elf with the longevity that it's had, and how popular it has become, and how not just kind of how my feelings behind it are, but how it's viewed by kind of the rest of the world. Everyone is obsessed with that film.
I'd go home. I like the argument for Elf. Sorry to jump in.
No, go for it.
But I'd put Home Alone over Elf for the carbon copy of that child, the kids' film. Everyone loves, has outgrown itself for case sequels. We don't talk about Home Alone 3, 4, the reboot on Disney Plus. But in my head, I like what you're saying with Elf. And it's not because I hate it, because I know you guys all liked it. But I do feel, and it's not because I picked it either, I feel like Home Alone is that upper tier of Elf in the similar-ish.
I was going to go to bat for Jingle All the Way just because of the reappraisal that it's had. It's had longevity because specifically of the reappraisal, but really putting the personal choices aside, Home Alone has to be on that Mount Rushmore, because you go to 100 people, 95 of them, if you give us 4 Christmas movies, 95 of them are going to give you Home Alone, because it just became that Christmas film.
I would counter argue that I think 95 would also probably say Elf. I think it's that popular in the modern age.
A lot more people hate Elf than people that hate Home Alone. I'm sorry, it's not me. It's not just me. There are a lot of people that don't like Elf, but there's a lot more that love it.
I mean, if you then go to those same 95 people who picked both Home Alone and Elf, if they have to choose one, I'm not even saying that I agree, but I think the majority are going to pick Home Alone. Like pick one Christmas movie.
Paul, you're very quiet on this one.
I like both. I like both. The thing is, I like
both. To be honest, I probably like Elf more than like Home Alone.
Do not make me the decider. I don't want that. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you put that evil on me. Oh, goodness me.
It's more the objective bit.
This is the thing.
Unless you can think of another film. We're not locking it down to these two. I feel like we're heading towards these two. Although, Ren, I'm with you. I love to throw, away, but I couldn't put it over those other two.
I would love to throw the holdovers in there as well, but it's too soon. It's far too soon.
If we're going for movies, which ones I like more, I go for the holdovers over those two as well, for what it's worth.
We've not mentioned
just because
we've not mentioned Miracle on 34th Street.
We haven't mentioned Miracle on 34th Street.
Which version?
Well, I like the 90s version with Richard Attenborough. Because I'm not entirely convinced he's not Father Christmas.
I mean, he didn't resurrect the dinosaurs.
We haven't even mentioned the Polar Express, guys. Come on now.
There's a reason. It's shit.
There's a reason.
No, I actually really like Miracle on 34th Street, both versions, but I like the Lord Attenborough version more. The thing is, like I said, Elf has kind of been canonized as the last great Christmas film, but Home Alone, I don't know. Home Alone, you've got it's. Was it the first film with Macaulay Culkin in it? It feels like it made him a superstar. You've got
It
Catherine
definitely made him a
O'Hara.
star.
You see
You've
like
got
old
Catherine
wrestling
O'Hara.
clips, and he's in the crowd as a child, and they're like screaming for him because Macaulay Culkin's gone to watch wrestling, but he's a kid. And if you think of kid actors, is he up there in terms of recognizable child actors with your Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson? Yeah,
I reckon so.
Yeah.
I reckon so.
and I'd say even bigger as a kid star with them because their longevity was they did a franchise for 10 years.
Yeah,
And-
he
and
did
the- and
2
the Home
movies,
Alone-
and everyone still knows him.
The thing with Home Alone is, it's. I don't know. There's a bit of darkness to it. The idea that he has got to fight these 2 robbers, and the fact that his family.
One of them played by Joe Pesci.
Yeah, it's Joe Pesci in a family film is insane. It's like I don't even think there's an equivalent to how insane that casting is. Like,
And he came back and did another, didn't he?
and he came back for a sequel. And he said as well. He said that like when they were on set, like Macaulay Culkin would talk to him and he'd be like, "Shut up." And he was like, because he was like, everybody else blows smoke up the kid's ass. He's like, but I don't do that because I don't care. And he goes, I think the kid likes that I don't treat him like a princess. Because everyone else is like, Macaulay, would you like this? And then he'd be like, hey, Joe, what's going on? He'd be like, shut up, kid. And I think that is amazing. But I personally, I think Home Alone.
That's fair. I'm willing to concede Elf to that, and I love Home Alone as well. So it's. I just wanted to throw that in there because I feel like modern times it's probably a more popular film and more people would know it.
Unless we're willing to go Batman Returns, people like some S&M at Christmas. Batman Returns.
We know my answer to
honestly,
that.
at this point,
If we had Neil on, we would.
Should we just throw in The Green Knight and just call it a day? Just like the most obscure Christmas film of all time.
Prometheus? We're going Prometheus, yeah? Excellent.
I'll give a cookie to everyone if we go with Jingle All the Way.
I would love Jingle the Way, but I think if you go in for, I know Elf's naughties, but because Die Hard, right? We've got It's a Wonderful Life, which is your old school golden age of Hollywood, the bona fide classic, will always sit at the top of the tree for Christmas films. We've got Klaus, one of the modern ones, and as you said, it is on its way to being classic. I see people, I've not seen it. I see people know nothing about film. Netflix put it on their homepage at Christmas, and it has started to get bigger. As we said, release it at the cinema. We've got Die Hard, which is a kind of alternate Christmas film, but it's a Christmas film. We've picked a Christmas film. We're going to fight you. It's a Christmas film. And then you go in for a bona fide classic, aren't you? And I feel it is out of Home Alone, Elf, but I think Home Alone's got the impression, not just because it's sort of 10 years younger. I think you start bringing in the other things. You bring in your John Williamses. You bring in the fact you had Chris Columbus. I love Jon Favreau, but it's a Chris Columbus film outright. And you mentioned some of the, I mean, we say this is like, oh yeah, we can say that, John Candy pops up or Joe Pesci pops up. And then even in Elf, you've still got a Corleone. You've still got Peter Dinklage as well, which people, pre-Game of Thrones.
Kyle Gass, one half of Tenacious D as well.
I think on the mountain, I think Home Alone sneaks Elf. If Elf was going on, it's not because I'm not seeing it, Elf would be the fourth one over Klaus. That's where my headspace is.
Honestly,
but do you see what? If we're going on the logic of time and recency,
George, when you see Klaus, you'll understand why it was one of the first immediate reactions to going on the list.
Let's meet in the middle and make it Iron Man 3. Let's meet in the middle.
Honestly, I'd happily have Kiss Kiss Bang Bang on there, or In Bruges, because In Bruges is so good.
I would have The Nice Guys just for the one scene.
Yeah, The Nice Guys is such a good film.
There are hookers in here and stuff, honey. Don't say stuff. Just say there are hookers.
Well, at least nobody got hurt. People got hurt. Well, I just mean,
See, we brought up another one. We brought up Iron Man 3. We brought up
Iron Man 3
Black film, Bar the Predator.
What's
underrated
that?
We brought up every Shane Black film, Bar the Predator.
It's not set at Christmas, and it sucks.
That's why it sucks, because it's not set at Christmas.
Well, to be fair, The Nice Guys is also not set at Christmas apart from the one scene at the end.
It counts.
Iron Man 3 being set at Christmas.
Iron Man 3
and
is
it
set at
mentions
Christmas.
Croydon. And it mentions Croydon, which was very special for me. Used to get a big cheer in the cinema in Wimbledon that I worked in whenever they mentioned Croydon. Everyone would cheer. Iron Man 3 is an underrated MCU film. I know people don't like it, but I like it. I think it's very funny, and I enjoy it very much.
As someone
they
who
brought-
likes it, it is very low on the ranking. But I like literally everything the MCU has done on different levels.
I'm a big fan of Trevor Slattery and his very welcome return. In
My name is
Shang-Chi.
Trevor
Shang-Chi.
Slattery.
I will go on a whole lecture about
I
that.
handled it.
Does that round out? So is our
Yeah.
Mount Rushmore?
Yeah.
It's Wonderful Life, Die Hard, Home Alone, and Klaus. We need like a judge's hammer to like lock it in. I'm looking at the Green Goblin and see you got any objections. No, because it wasn't set at Christmas, that film. Otherwise, I'd be fighting for it. I mean, the end of Spider-Man No Way Home was set at Christmas.
It was
And,
winter. I don't know if it was Christmas.
And,
No, it was
and
Christmas. There's
now
a
he's
bit where you hear like jingle bells.
and they got
you
the Christmas tree up.
see the tree on Rockefeller Center,
Rockefeller.
but I don't know if it's like the Christmas season or if it's like Christmas.
Well, it doesn't
It's-
matter now because the next one's going to be on a CGI planet on Doomsday. So, sorry to detract our Christmas stuff, but that's why I turn it into Spider-Man conversation. But who knows? They actually
What
did
about
it.
Shazam? Shazam set at Christmas. We didn't even mention Shazam.
And it sucks.
I like
I mean,
Shazam.
I like the
I like
first
Shazam.
one.
I want to
think
throw
both
in.
of them suck.
I want to
And I
throw in
always
a
have.
film that
I don't just think this now, to be clear.
I want to throw in a
Yes.
film that has a couple of Christmas scenes. Isn't really a Christmas film because most of the film isn't set at Christmas, but I always watch Brooklyn at Christmas.
Oh,
It's
such a
like
good
home.
movie.
Such a
Such a
movie.
good movie.
Mm.
That was the
Christmas
first
scene.
film I reviewed on my YouTube channel.
Really? Ah.
And
Love
I
that
saw
film.
it the day I was having lunch. I was going to see it after lunch, and while I'm having lunch, I'm like, "Oh shit, Alan Rickman died," and then I went to see Brooklyn.
Oh, I remember that day.
And we
The
brought it
back-to-back-
back around full circle. Bet you didn't expect that one.
Well, that's going to round out today's Mount Rushmore Christmas classics. We're in December now. It's December time. Paul's, as we said, been festive. I thank all of you for jumping on this. We'll do some plugs in a minute. To everyone that's been on this series in the last sort of 12 weeks as well, it's very much appreciated. A lot of returning. We brought up Neil lots of that. I'm going to bring up again actually shortly because before I start plugging things, we're going to talk about the series starting up that's going to take us through for the next couple of weeks. We are doing, which I guess in turn is the second year of the Cinema Savvy Christmas Classic series. Idea from Sam, who is unable to join us tonight. And I'm going to announce the 6 on here for anyone watching because we don't really tweet about them or say what they are. But if anyone's curious as to what films, the thumbnails are here. I'm not saying it because we've actually spoke about every single one of these by one tonight. These are the films we're going to be doing this year. So every Friday and Tuesday, there's going to be a new upload. And in this order, we are doing Home Alone, Miracle on 34th Street, Batman Returns, and Neil is on the video already because he decided Batman Returns. Thanks for bringing that up, Paul. Love Actually, The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, and White Christmas. So they're the 6 for this year. There'll be more details, as we said, every Tuesday and Friday from this week up till basically it finishes on Christmas Eve of White Christmas. But all of them by White Christmas have been spoken about today, which is kind of exciting. And we'll have more details on them, what to expect. It's not reviews. It's not like spoiler discussions. It's a very relaxed conversation around, hey, what was our growing up of this? Or did we watch this for the first time? If anyone's curious about last year, we did The Muppets, Christmas Carol. We did It's a Wonderful Life, Jingle All the Way, and we did Die Hard. So that was last year. You can find them on a playlist on the channel. But yeah, if anyone's curious, they just want to have a relaxing listen to people talking about Christmas films, maybe ones they grew up with, they enjoyed, they're watching for the first time. Have a check of them over the coming weeks, and we'll put some posts and clips out as well. But that's going to do everything I can say for today. Ren, what are you up to at the moment?
I am up to still catching on a ton of reviews that I have from Venice, from London. Recently, reviews for Moana 2 and Wicked are on the channel. Next up will be reviews for Conclave and The Order, which is a movie you haven't heard about, but you should keep it on your radar because it's Justin Kurzel and it's fucking awesome. So I'm looking forward to reviewing those, as well as planning on some Christmas-themed videos closer to actual Christmas.
Lovely. Everyone, please sub to Rent on there as well. Paul, we've just had you on for not a mountain of videos. You've been on a lot of Mount Rushmores, but we just rounded out the very intense Harry Potter recasting for HBO, a series that ended up being 6 hours across 3 episodes. A lot of fun, a lot of different voices. What else have you been working on?
Still being features editor for Film Hounds. We're working on a big thing where we round off our seasons of the year. So I'm currently editing that and getting people to write their pieces for that, and just catching up on films because they like to release a lot of films that I want to see at the end of the year. So I'm sort of, just saw Conclave, which was very good. And now we sit and wait for Nosferatu.
Yes.
Until they
And
let
for
me.
Sonic 3. Let's not forget about Sonic 3.
There's a few big films in December.
Mm.
Mufasa. Yeah, Paul's excited.
Uh.
But listen,
They should let me go to it, but they need to be prepared that I'm just going to do a really loud fart sound at the end. What I did at the end of Joker 2, when everyone went, "What did you think?" I just went. That's my review of Joker 2, and it's probably going to be my review of Mufasa. But yeah, you can find if you go on my link tree, you can find my letterboxd, all my work, all the reviews and interviews I've done, and other shit.
Everyone, please do it. And to people watching home, thank you so much for watching this video today. All the other Mount Rushmore videos, all the people that have commented, letting us know their mountains for their different subjects, what they've enjoyed, ideas they've thought about for other shows. This will come back next year. When we announce that, what those would be, they'd be on our social medias. Linktree.com/CinemaSavvy will put you through to our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky. We are now on. On top of this, what else to expect from us other than Christmas things? Well, Star Wars is back. The day this video goes up, in fact, in this 90-minute spell, I can confirm that there will be a spoiler-free review of the first 2 episodes on our channel that went up at 2 a.m. this morning, which is outrageous, but they're up in their schedules. No, it wasn't live at 2 a.m. recorded, thankfully. So we're going to be doing Skeleton Crew spoiler discussions on the night the episodes airs. We don't have specific lineups as such, but myself, Phil, Sam, and others will probably be present. We're not going to go live on Christmas Day, folks. We've got a life of sorts. As much as you can have on one. We don't need to go live on Christmas Day. Some people used to do it here, not us. And yeah, a lot more things are happening. A lot more things are in the motion. We're looking into next year now, but it's nice to end this Mount Rushmore series. So once again, to everyone in here, a massive thank you for jumping on for so many. You guys have mentioned new releases for me, so I have to talk about that. Tayte, am I missing anything else?
I don't believe so. I guess we're in the run into Christmas, so just keep an eye on our socials, and we'll be announcing videos coming up. I know that I'll be doing something to do with Doctor Who towards Christmas, but that is yet to be organised, so keep an eye on our socials for that.
Definitely. Nice to everybody at home once again. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.